Reverend Robin. I am part of your lead ministry team here. It is always a good sign when people are engaged in conversation and we're trying to get into the congregation. I want to welcome you here to Beacon Unitarian Universalist Congregation, where, yes, we still gather this day to be radically inclusive, to feed the human spirit, and to heal the world. As I've said, my name is Reverend Robin. My pronouns are she, her. I'm offering a physical description for all of those joining us with any visual impairments. I'm a medium-height white woman with short brown hair and, most notably this day, some sparkly blue glasses. I wish there were easy magic words to make this all go away. The truth is, I have experienced a range of emotions myself, and what I want you to most know now is that you are loved and you are not alone. We have each other. And by each other, I mean hundreds of beloveds, including those here in this sanctuary and well beyond its walls, those joining us on this live stream right now, those who will watch this recording later this evening. Whether you are a long-term member here or it's your first Sunday through our doors, you are loved and you are welcome in this sanctuary. I am specifically holding in our sanctuary beloveds who feel the greatest impact of this moment and of what will come. I am holding those who are LGBTQ, especially our transgender and queer beloveds, immigrants, those needing reproductive care, people of the global majority, our siblings the world over, especially in Gaza and Ukraine, who fear exactly what this means. I am holding any group within the United States who will be falsely blamed for this outcome. And I'm holding all of you who canvassed, who organized, who spoke up, who asked hard questions in public meetings, who knocked on doors and texted and phone banked and tried and tried and tried. And I want you to know that your actions, your life, your work is not in vain. In the midst of our pain, we are called this day to sanctuary. To be the sanctuary not just as a noun or a place, but as an experience that we are creating together. So I welcome you into this sanctuary. Sanctuary for the soft being of yourself this day on this sweet earth. A sanctuary for your fears, your despair, your grief, a sanctuary for your resolve and your courage. A sanctuary that centers the margins, a sanctuary for your rage and your disgust. A sanctuary for your shock and even perhaps for some, a hope emerging. A sanctuary where love has called us into being, where ancestors of courage and light still move as particles in the air, and more importantly, can be animated in our actions, in who we choose to be. A sanctuary for the vision of the emerging generation alongside the wisdom of our elders. A sanctuary where you are beloved. Can you take a moment and say that to each other? Look at one another and say beloved as an affirmation. come center into this sanctuary of love, of inclusion, of justice, of equity, of interdependence, and even, beloved, as this day, another day, may seem impossible. A sanctuary of generosity and transformation. Welcome, beloved, to our sanctuary.
Good morning. My name is Misa Iwama. I'm the Director of Music Ministry. I'm here with John O'Neill playing piano. And we are going to start today with a song by Holly Near. And the song is Singing for Our Lives. That's number 170. And I invite you to rise in spirit or in body and join in singing this song. We are a gentle, angry people, and we are singing, singing for our lives. We are a gentle, angry people, and we are singing, singing for our lives. We are a justice-seeking people, and we are singing, singing for our lives. We are a justice-seeking people, and we are singing, singing for our lives. We are young and old. We are young and old together, and we are singing, singing for our lives. We are young and old together, and we are singing, singing for our lives. And now we're going to do a fourth verse, which Holly Near added, and that is, we are all in this together. We are all in this together, and we are singing, singing for our lives. We are all in this together, and we are singing, singing for our lives.
Good morning. My name is Missy Rogers. I'm your worship associate today. I'm an older white woman with salt and pepper hair, teal rimmed glasses, and a teal sweater. And this morning, as I read the chalice lighting words, I ask, is there someone who would like to come and actually light our candle this morning? Okay, come on up. These words are by Reverend Leslie Takahashi. You matter. What you believe in matters. Your view of the world matters. Your power matters. Your belief in the goodness of others matters. Your sense of what is right matters. Your engagement matters. Your beloveds matter. Their knowledge of what their life truly is matters. Their stories matter. We matter in our own hearts and one another, and must find new ways to be sanctuary for shared dreams and knowings.
We want to share with you a few of our own stories from 2016. Because I don't know about you, but maybe some of us have been going back to that time, whether we want to or not, thinking about the first days and months and the years that followed. I believe that there are things that we need to return to and replicate in that time, ways that we can learn from it. But I think there are also things we want to be careful not to do again.
To not do again. I can honestly say it was actually in 2016 I had arrived in November, that November on election day in Athens, Ohio. First time I'd ever been to Ohio, especially the area of Athens, Ohio, which is a little blue bubble in a sea of red. And I can honestly say it was culture shock for me because I'm from New York. I haven't seen so much red, and if I'm going to ride my car through Appalachia, I don't know what I'm going to get myself into. But I'm going for this PhD program, and I know I have to be there for 4 to 6 years under this presidential term. I was at a white institution, predominantly white institution. I was only Black American and Black queer American in my department, focusing in interdisciplinary arts with a concentration in African arts and literature. It was absolutely excruciating to think I was going to be there for 4 years in this little blue bubble. Because if I stepped out of that little blue bubble, something was waiting for me. That year, I had been accepted into 2 institutions, Ohio University and Morgan State University. I chose Ohio because I knew that it was time to be the person that I was at best. I like coloring white spaces, and I wanted to invite others to color outside the lines with me.
On election night in 2016, I was in Charlotte, North Carolina. I had recently been called here as one of the ministers, and I was coming up once a month while I stayed in Charlotte to see our community there through an uprising that on the second night, a community organizer had been killed just feet away from me. So on election night, I found myself in North Carolina at kind of an election gathering. I don't know if you could call it a party. It certainly didn't end like a party. And as it became clear that he was going to win, I have to say, it surprised me, even with all that we had been through. And I saw in the corner of this gathering, while everyone was glued to the results and some people were still holding that it would not be what it looked like it might be, and some people said, there's a path, I saw the long-term Congresswoman Alma Adams just sitting very sober looking in the corner. And I sat beside her, and she looked at me and motioned toward the group in the center of the room, and she said, they have no idea what's coming.
In 2016, I had just moved in August from California, where I lived my whole life, to New Jersey. So the ground under my feet was pretty unsteady still. My son was off in college. And I have to say, I was not at that time laserly focused on the election. But when I heard the results, something definitely solidified for me, which was women still had a long way to go in leadership.
Good Beacon.
Good morning.
My name is Maureen Irwin, and I'm here as a Beacon chaplain, and I'm feeling equal parts sober and grateful for the opportunity to be here. I call myself a young elder. I'm probably a little short for this one-size-fits-all pulpit. I am dressed in, I guess they're shades of gray, and designated by this maroon scarf as a chaplain, as other chaplains are here today. My pronouns are she, her. This Wednesday, our congregation opened its doors to our Beacon and local UU congregations and the public, and for anyone in the community who needed to be with others, to absorb the unknown impact of this week's election. If you were here or online, you know how comforting it was to have the companionship of others when our future seems so uncertain. You may also want to have that experience on a longer-term basis. So consider engaging with a Beacon-trained chaplain for sessions of deep and empathetic listening in a confidential environment. These events can be exacerbating any of the normal stresses in your life. Please recognize your needs and please engage in the resources you need. They are not luxuries, but the tools we need to move forward. To engage a chaplain, please contact Reverend Robin, Reverend Jay, or Dr. Tooley. Chaplains also extend the spiritual care of our community by facilitating the candle lighting for our community. Our first candle is being lit to honor the fears of our family members, our friends, Beacon community, and anybody in America who is fearful of retributions and targeted attacks because of their immigration status, their racial or gender status, or other identity. May they find support in people of like minds and values. Our second candle is lit for all sentient beings who have died or suffering all over the world as a result of atrocities, and especially in the Mideast, in Israel, and Gaza, and Ukraine's on our mind as well. May the one who hears the cries of the world bring peace to the universe and bring peace into our hearts. We light our next candle to honor all of the men and women who are veterans and have defended our country so that we may benefit from their service. Are there any veterans in the congregation who'd like to stand? Yeah. How about people who have family members who are veterans? Yeah, there you go. May we recognize the extent of that effort and hold gratitude in our hearts. And lastly, a candle of concern and hope for relief from the drought and the recent wildfires across New Jersey, acknowledging the devastating impact of the climate crisis right here in our midst. Please come forward here in the sanctuary or in your own home to light a candle for these and for all of the joys and sorrows in your life. Blessed be.
remain seated for this next song, which is in the hymnal. It's an old tune, Abide With Me. It's number 101.
Our reading today is by Kyle Tran Myhre. Now I'm going to spell the last name because I'm not sure that's the pronunciation. Myhre, Kyle Tran Myhre. Entitled, When It Really Is Just the Wind and Not a Furious Vexation. The year I was born, the Soviet Union's early warning radar system malfunctioned, reporting 5 intercontinental ballistic missiles in flight, a preemptive nuclear strike. You may have heard this story, how a single lieutenant colonel dismissed the signal as the false alarm that it was. But had he made a different call in that moment? Had he seen those 5 ghost fingers as a fist? A mushroom cloud, the most dangerous cliche. I hold it in my hands on my 40th birthday and it becomes a bouquet. 1,000 stems leading to 1,000 worlds in which cooler heads did not prevail, to 1,000 alternate universe versions of me born in the year of the apocalypse. I see myself dead via radiation poisoning, dead via the shutdown of the supply chain, the failure of the water system, and the reemergence of previously preventable diseases. Dead in such manly ways via an unlucky fall in a fistfight over nothing, via a scratch, ignored and infected. I plucked petals looking for a version of me who survives, hoping to find that, leather jacket, black motorcycle, katana strapped to my back version. That warrior poet, lone vessel of vengeance, keeping the wasteland's unending tide of razor-clawed mutants at bay version. All these worlds, and he isn't out there. all these versions of who I could have been, and not a single hero, folk, super, anti, or otherwise. All these dead worlds, and we tell the same stories. Which is not to say that I never survive, just that my survival, in every reality where it is possible, never belongs to me. I see myself, 40, not a dual-wielding bandit warlord, just a neighbor sitting in another endless community meeting. And how many of our ancestors have already taught us, even after the world ends, there is work to do. I see myself in that work. Not the leader, not a lone wolf, just another part of the pack. Because in every universe in which I am alive, it is because of other people. And I don't always like them, but I love them. In every universe in which I am alive, it is less because I could fight and more because I could forgive, because I could cooperate, because I could apologize, and because I could dance. Because I could grow pumpkins in my backyard and leave them on my neighbor's door, asking for nothing in return. In every universe in which I am alive, I am holding a first aid kit, a solar panel, a sleeping cat. Never a rusty battle axe or rocket launcher. Sure, maybe sometimes a chainsaw, but only for firewood. I am holding a cooking pot, a teddy bear, a photo album, a basketball, a bouquet of flowers. Survival is not a fortress, it is a garden. Survival is not a siren, it is a symphony. And yeah, we fight for it sometimes, but survival is not the fight. It is the healing after. The soft hum of someone you trust applying the bandage and feeling the feeling of falling asleep in a safe place.
It is now time for meditation. Let me first introduce myself. I am Reverend J, as in protege.
Oh, y'all can't hear me. I'm sorry. I'm so used to the mic, and thank you. Let me introduce myself. I am Reverend J, as in protege, and my pronouns are they and them. I am currently wearing a red jacket, a kilt, and some camouflage high-heel boots, brown skin, braids in my hair, and some biker gloves. I just want to get us into a posture, if you will. Get us into a posture that feels comfortable. Allow for us to have a mind that is at ease and at rest in the midst of what's going on. I acknowledge that I ran into some beautiful people who had some things that were still resting upon them, and that's okay. It's okay to bring that here. This is home. This is sanctuary. I invite you to put your eyes into maybe a gaze to allow for you to remain a little bit stimulated, or feel free to close them. We're just going to take a moment of silence. please come back. Rest your eyes gently wherever they need to be. Deep breath and release. Thank you.
Loosen, loosen, baby. You don't have to carry the weight of the world in your muscles and bones. Let go, let go, let go. Holy breath and holy name. Will you ease this pain? Holy breath and holy name. Will you ease this pain? Loosen, loosen, baby. You don't have to carry the weight of the world in your muscles and bones. Let go, let go, let go. Loosen, loosen, baby. You don't have to carry the weight of the world in your muscles and bones. Let go, let go, let go. Holy breath and holy name. Will you ease this pain? Holy breath and holy name. Will you ease this pain? Loosen, loosen, baby. You don't have to carry the weight of the world in your muscles and bones. Let go, let go, let go. Loosen, loosen, baby. You don't have to carry the weight of the world in your muscles and bones. Let go, let go, let go. Let go, let go, let go. Let go, let go, let go.
Good morning, Beacon. Good morning. Thanks for that. My name is Stephanie Faison. My pronouns are she, her. I'm medium height, medium old. I'm a white woman with long blondish hair, wearing pumpkin pants and a light blue sweater. We find ourselves today in an extraordinary moment. We've been here before. And what binds us and gives us strength is the knowledge that we are not alone. We are connected to one another in this moment and beyond these walls. It is that feeling that drew my husband George and me to Beacon in the first place, and it is the reason that we fiercely stay. We don't just talk, we act to help others and to improve our world. In my life, I care deeply about many things, but the issue I choose to focus on is hunger. I have been blessed to enjoy a long and productive career in food industry, so food's always been important to me. When the pandemic began, Beacon got involved with Grace here in Summit. Grace focuses on the underserved, and food insecurity is a part of that. Well, that's great for Summit, but I wanted to know if we could work to resolve issues of food insecurity in our own hometowns. And that's how Neighborhood Beacon was born. Today, Neighborhood Beacon is currently working in a handful of communities, and we need to expand our efforts. The work is simple, doesn't take much time. Leaders identify in their areas partners that are working directly on hunger issues, like food banks and food pantries. We organize fundraisers to give money to those partners. And these events bring our community together in ways that are spectacular, rewarding, magical even, like Plays for Neighbors, for example, that was acted here at Fort Waldron last year, or a picnic I organized in September with live music. There was so much joy and love at all of these events. And all the money we raise, 100%, goes to resolve local hunger issues. Hunger is a curious thing. It does not show itself. We all have neighbors who may be choosing between filling a prescription or finding food for dinner. Hunger is present in every community, and it is something we can act on. Sometimes it only takes a small effort to make a difference. Neighborhood Beacon is that effort, and you can be part of it too. Thank you.
Thank you, Stephanie, both for your story as well as your presence and being among those who pours your love and your energy into the very mission and being that makes us a beacon. There are so many ways, beloved, to act as we hold love at the center. And I just want to name one of them as showing up. So, check. Good job. Thanks for being here. It might not be the easiest of times to show up. But if you've shown up in all the ways, including those on the live stream, and you're feeling that you want to connect more deeply, well, please, I encourage you to speak to Stephanie after our service or come to our emergency social justice meeting. It's not often I pull the emergency lever, but we're pulling it. 12:30, and there'll be food, so don't worry. But maybe this is your very first Sunday with us. Maybe you've never been in this sanctuary before. And Chris Budin, our membership coordinator, who's somewhere here in this space. Chris is running in like it's a membership game show. I don't know. Chris would be delighted to companion you in conversation at Connecting, which is also after this service, and it will be upstairs. Thank you for all the ways that you show up. Thank you for the light you brought this very day. On behalf of your ministry team, I can tell you, it matters. Our morning offering will now be most gratefully received.
All right, this song is called We Shall Be Known. It's by Carisha Longacre, who is part of the duo Mamuse. If you have come to a choir rehearsal, you might be able to sing along. If you have heard it in various events, you might be able to sing along. Or if you just listen, you might be able to sing along. So I invite you to join in when you like. We shall be known by the company we keep, by the ones who circle round to tend these fires. We shall be known by the ones who sow and reap the seeds of change, alive from deep within the earth. It is time now. It is time now that we thrive. It is time we lead ourselves into the well. It is time now, and what a time to be alive. In this great turning, we shall learn to lead in love. In this great turning, we shall learn to lead in love. We're going to sing it by the ones who circle round to tend these fires. We shall be known by the ones who sow and reap the seeds of change alive from deep within the earth. It is time now. It is time now that we thrive. It is time we lead ourselves into the well. It is time now, and what a time to be alive. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love.
Thank you, Misa, for that. That's all right. I'd like to invite you with me, if you will.
We're going to take a little trip down memory lane with this little quick tune. I can go anywhere. Take a look. It's in a book. Reading Rainbow. I'm sure some of you just were like, oh my gosh, and you remember the rainbow, and it all of a sudden just felt a little lighter, right? Well, you know, it's a real thing to get a little light, and it's really hard to feel a little light today. And I want to share with you, LeVar Burton and what he shared in an interview recently. We know him as this kind of televised sensation for Reading Rainbow, where he read to every child in America, most of you in this room. And one of the things that he did start off with that most of us don't remember is he started off his career in the movie Roots. He portrayed an African kid who was kidnapped and tortured, and he was a runaway slave, and he refused his slave name. Later, his career, he became the safe black person who read to every child in America. He would then move into a character that maintained the cultural integrity of America's Starship Enterprise. Whatever happened to that man? Whatever happened to him? Well, let's talk about that really briefly. In this interview, he explains that he was one of the safe ones. I know this story quite well. And he went to a banquet and read a book that required for him to drop the F-bomb. He didn't think much of it, other than the story did say, go to sleep. I'm quite sure we've all had moments like that. But he states very clearly that out of all of the 12 Grammys that he's won, that what hangs above his fireplace mantle are the shackles from Roots. And he says, I want my guests to know, while I am unquestionably their friend, I am also absolutely filled with rage. Unquestionably their friend, I am absolutely filled with rage. And I'm quite sure that some of us feel a bit of the same. We have been friendly for too long. And we don't know at the end of this moment how we might just, can I just be real, pop off at somebody. Nothing is more friendlier, though, than a smile. I'm guilty. Clearly, I love all 32s that rest in my mouth. It is probably one of the assets that I fight to keep hygienically and spiritually. My smile has always been named as some kind of friendly expression. It is also held a hard contrast where I identify as somewhat a charismatic front of toxic positivity. Of course, this was later something I learned while coming into progressive spaces. Maybe it's because of the religious trauma and the dangerous postures of evangelicalism and charismatic preachers, often seen using a narrative of prosperity gospel that has also deeply influenced Christian nationalism. It seems to be dangerous to smile. It is unfortunate that the act of smiling had to be observed in this way, and it puts me into understand how sometimes smiling can offer us a bit of a betwixt and between moment. However, I assure you that when you see me smiling, it is to my benefit as Black queer joy. It is an act of resistance. I offer this moment very similar to Victor Turner's understanding. He was an anthropologist and a performance researcher who suggests that behaviors like these are normally passive, humble. They must obey their structures implicitly and accept arbitrary punishments without complaint. It is though they are being reduced and ground down to a uniform condition to be fashioned anew and endowed with additional powers to enable them to cope with new stations in life. Quite fancy. But I will say this. We sometimes have gotten to a place where we humble our smiles. We are in moments where we give pleasantry. And we offer moments in which we are being nice. But what does it mean for the moments that we hold smiles in the midst of trouble? If we reduce the smile only to an act of expression or couch it into some kind of toxic positivity or prosperity of political bad, during the midst of political bad news, do we look optimistic? Are we demonstrating a posture of naivety or denial regarding our current human condition in this country? Faint not, dear ones. I am reminded just by last week of Reverend Robin's sermon that held the song, "This Joy That I Have, the World Didn't Give It to Me." That is a call of resistance. It is a call to be resilient. It is a call to actually transform the very moment that we are experiencing and put on your battle face a good old smile. People will think that you are crazy for having one. All hell is breaking loose and you decide to smile. Well, you just are that crazy because I'm inviting you to rest in the betwixt and the between arbitrary possibilities between your cheekbones. That when you smile, it is an act, yes, of resistance. It is a fierce posture of rebellion, and it is a contagious battle cry for peace in a land raging war. Let's exist for a moment in the betwixt and the between. When we are betwixt and between this very smile, these 32s, we are gentle, angry people. We are always fighting and singing for our lives. When we are betwixt and between, we are unquestionably somebody's friend, but absolutely filled with rage. When we are holding this smile, we are holding a fortitude of boundary and a measure of emotional capacity. Serving fierce face is a battle that says you will win because your character is intact. Your integrity is unwavering, and you are of good and sound conscience. You have a reason to smile. Don't smile just because it looks better. Don't smile because you want to pacify and create peace. I'm asking you to not smile for those things. I do not smile because I'm comfortable. I smile because I'm courageous. When I wake up in the morning, I dare to smile. I dare to smile at adversity and brokenness. I dare to smile in the midst of this political upheaval. I dare to smile because it is my fight back. The psalmist Kirk Franklin writes this very simply, saying, I almost gave up, but a power that I can't explain came upon me like a shower. I smiled. Even though it hurt, see, I smile. I know things are working, so I smile. Even though I've been here for a while, I smile. It's hard to look up when you've been down. I would sure hate to see you give up now. You will feel and look so much better when you smile. How can we smile today, Beacon, in the midst of all of this? I'm giving you all my 32s, for those who are missing a few. In the midst of this forecast, I want to offer you 32s. I want to offer you 32s that leave you dangerously insane because you realize that you have the makings within your smile to create and make freedom. I want to offer you 32s that reveal that you are crazy enough to believe in justice in the midst of injustice. I want to give you 32s that depict a public declaration that insinuate righteous rage. I want to offer you 32s with a disposition that anchors the heart, that grounds the soul, and offers the mind liberation when it feels lost. We can be unquestionably friends. I'm crazy enough to do so. But it doesn't mean that we are not filled with rage. Put your battle face on. I invite you. May I invite you to just smile.
Thank you, Reverend Jay. I'll never smile the same. Now, we're going a little Southern style today, which means we're going to go over time. Y'all take care of yourselves. You need to use the restrooms. They're back through the glass doors. Our ushers will show you, and we will have a bounty of snacks to sustain you at the conclusion of our service, and caffeine if that is what you need as well. I want to begin with a story of a young woman who was living in Guatemala who had no choice but to flee. A young woman who, faced with nothing but the clothes on her back and a home that was not safe and a community that threatened her life if she stayed, took her child and by foot and by bus and by barter and bargain found her way arduously to the southern border of this country. A young woman who at that border was detained and put on an airplane and placed in a place completely unfamiliar with no one she knew, just a teenager. Imagine what that must have felt like. Now, this young woman was as suddenly as she was detained, suddenly released into the middle of the night with her son, with nothing but the clothes on her back, in a place she did not know, where most people spoke a language she did not understand. And somehow, in the midst of this confusion, she found her way to the doors of a congregation that not only gave food and shelter, but began to fashion out of this trauma sanctuary, safety, and a future previously impossible to conceive of. I want to tell you about a group of people who in a town were lambasted and maligned simply because they are poor, who were shut out of train stations deep in the winter's night, who could have frozen to death, who were told, just go away. This isn't your town. You don't belong here. And I want to tell you of a congregation who, in the face of that, in the face of criticism by everyone in power, opened their doors and offered sanctuary. I want to tell you of a young person who only knew hardship and rejection, who as a teenager found their way through the doors of a congregation, a community that had a youth group, and they weren't sure what that meant. But through that youth group, they found a place safe enough to declare that they knew who they were, and they were they. And through the receipt of that identity, through the affirmation of that community, through that sanctuary, this young person found a path that was inconceivable. They were invited to guide and to teach the youngest of children in that community, entrusted with their care because someone in that congregation saw who this young person was. And because they were seen and affirmed and invited to guide the youngest children, a path emerged from that sanctuary that was impossible before. That young person today is in their first year of college, studying to be an educator. This week, in the wake of all that had occurred, our denominational president reached out with a very clear message. Reverend Dr. Sophia Betancourt said, "We are sanctuary people." Can you say that with me? She reminded me, in that moment, her message was so clear, it's like I forgot myself for a moment and I needed to remember myself. Anybody here need to remember yourself from time to time? I needed to remember myself. And that's what Dr. Betancourt did. I remembered that in the earliest days of Unitarianism and Universalism, we were the ones who, facing religious violence, knew that the elemental act of our faith would be to offer haven, to create protection and safety and sanctuary. Our Unitarian ancestors, among them were those who, in the face of terrible religious violence in Europe, in the 1500s, had the courage to say that we could create sanctuary across religious difference and divide. And from that insistence, from those words, was born the Edict of Torda, the first act of religious toleration in all of Europe. We were among those in the ravages of slavery. And in what was professed across this land as normal and lawful to own a human being, we were among those in our gathering, Reverend Theodore Parker, who preached with a gun in the pulpit, because he wanted to ensure that no one among those slave catchers was going to come through the doors of his sanctuary, our sanctuary, and take a formerly enslaved person back into slavery. We were among those in the midst of the Holocaust. Reverend Waitstill Sharp and Martha Sharp, who traveled from the safety of their homes in this country, who left their young children in the care of their congregation and went to Germany and all of the subsequent countries that fell to the Nazis, and they created the Unitarian Service Committee, which was a refugee assistance agency in its inception, and from which our chalice comes. The symbol of our chalice was worn on lapels as a communication across languages and in the midst of fascism and devastation to say, I will be your sanctuary, because we are sanctuary people. And we, Beacon, we became a sanctuary congregation. Do you remember? We have someone in sanctuary right now who is under threat of deportation. We became a sanctuary congregation when it was said by some, don't do that. You're drawing attention to yourselves. By others, it's not that bad. It'll pass. We became a sanctuary congregation. And not that long ago, we joined with Pink Haven to offer sanctuary for an internally displaced family who had in their family someone who is transgender, who was under threat by the state, who was being threatened by a state attorney and had to flee their state to come to this state, a safer place. And we are among those, I can tell you now, who have been planning for the last few months for exactly this moment, who have been in quiet and in steadfast, creating a network. Because we are. There will be time for all manner of analysis on this election. There's already a lot on social media. If you're feeling like you don't have enough analysis of what happened, the Facebook. But I want us not to lose something in this moment, because I've heard a lot of folks already talking about, well, how do I convince someone who voted for him? Well, what do I do now when more than half of the voting body voted for him? What country is this? I know people who are looking for an escape hatch or just trying to think it's not going to be that bad. It's probably going to be that bad. But we have to remember in this moment two elemental truths. One, we cannot turn on each other. We're all going to be in different places and different moments in this. But I want us to remember that we have to make sanctuary for each other as well. If you've come here today and you are not ready to be singing and ready to rise, that's okay. Right, Misa? Maybe? Okay, well, you should still sing. Still sing. Right, okay. Still sing. And if your smile has a whole lot of rage before it, behind it, after it, and still tomorrow, that's okay too. We can make sanctuary for each other. But what we cannot do is turn on each other. Second, Timothy Snyder's On Tyranny. I commend it to you. Read it. It's a short little book. It's as scary as it sounds, but it's helpful. And one of Timothy Snyder's primary pieces of advice is do not obey in advance. Do not cede who you are and who we are in advance. Do not morally compromise, equivocate, move away, and try to give up ground in advance. We have to hold to the moral center because we are. We also have to remember the 70,420,892 people who did not vote for him, and the ones who could not vote, but if they could, would not. We have to remember all of those who need us, to center into our values now. Sanctuary is not only a place, it is a way of living. It is grounded in a willingness to disobey injustice, masquerading as law, as hate dressed up as reason. Sanctuary is the practice of not first only thinking of self, but thinking through and always with community. It means centering the margins and seeing each other beyond a single moment. And yes, sanctuary is universalist, but don't get it twisted. All have worth and dignity, but when we do wrong, we're not preemptively forgiven. You have to be accountable. Thank you. So I want to ask you, are you among the people, can you declare it now, who refuse to give in to despair, to cower, to think only of yourselves? We are. Who are you? Are you those who, in the wake of violence and collapse of essential values, will not turn on each other? Who are you? Are you among those who, in the midst of fear, will not give up, will not look for the escape hatch, will keep showing up, even when we don't have the answers? Are you among those who will create haven and refuge and look to those who are most in peril and not say, well, that's it, or I'm going to wait it out for years? Are you among those who are ready to get to work in whatever way you can this day, tomorrow, and every damn day it takes? Who are you? Who in the fear of this moment remember ourselves, remember our ancestors, remember our symbols, remember our history, both its brightness and where we failed, and let us refuse to fail again today. We who are fierce as a parent protecting their child, fierce in their love, fierce in their smile, fierce in their resolve, fierce in their values, fierce in this battle, fierce in their morals, and fierce in their resistance. Tell me, beloved, this day, because I need to hear it. I need to remember who we are. I can't forget. I can't be alone. We can't be out in the wind. We need to know that you hear us, you remember. So can you remind me this day, because I think I might have forgotten. Is there a witness in the room who might remind me for when I forget? Because the real measure of who we are is not when it's easy, is not when we're winning, is not when it's clear what to do, is not when we're filled with joy. The real measure of who we are is right here and right now. And so one more time, so I don't forget. Beloved, who are we? Sanctuary people. Amen.
All right, we're going to sing one more song, and this is Rise Again by the Urban Voices Project. I invite you to rise in body or spirit. And the words are, I have the patience to inhale, exhale. I have the energy to sing. I have the strength to keep on going so I can rise again. I have the patience to inhale, exhale. I have the energy to sing. I have the strength to keep on going so I can rise again, so I can rise again. I have the patience to inhale, exhale. I have the energy to sing. I have the strength to keep on going so I can rise again, so I can rise again. I have the patience to inhale, exhale. I have the energy to sing. I have the strength to keep on going so I can rise again, so I can rise again. I have the patience to inhale, exhale. I have the energy to sing. I have the strength to keep on going so I can rise again, 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 so I can rise again.
Come on and grab somebody beloved. Grab somebody close, bring them close. We will not turn away. We will not turn on each other. I don't care what the polls look like. The white women voted. I got this friend right here. It shows me something different. I will not turn on you. I want to encourage you to be mindful, be watchful. Your smile is your welcome, but it is also your greatest resistance.
And so, beloved, we smile and we rise and we commit and we act. We love. We keep on living because we know we are sanctuary people. Amen.
Amen.